Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Yolanda, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you guys how I got recruited as a D1 cross country and track athlete. So if you guys are excited to hear all about this and partially of my transfer story, please be sure to give this video a huge thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe down below. Make sure to turn on post notification notified when I post. And if I do, let's get on in this video. So if you guys didn't already notice, your girl changed up her hair and it's been a hot minute, and bear with me, I am very sorry, and it's mainly due to the fact that I have been working a whole ton, y'all. I just started a new job, plus I'm doing summer classes, so that's been like literally like making me so busy, but now I'm getting the rhythm of it and I want to go back to filming. So here's our video. So currently I go to Georgia State University, but before though I went to Georgia Southern University, which was, yeah, an experience for sure. I enjoyed the people that I met, and like I loved my coach there. We're gonna get into the reasonings of why I left in a bit, but yeah, I'm currently though on the cross country and track team though for Georgia State. So I'm just gonna be telling you that experience. I only have been there for the second semester, but I was there at Georgia Southern for one semester there, so it was like a quick turnaround, but your girl knew what she wanted, and that was to leave. So I really started running when I was like in 5th grade, but in 6th grade is like when like things started like moving for real, when I was actually starting to get competitive. Going into high school, of course, that was a hard transition, but I was able to adapt easily, and going into my sophomore year I had really great stats. I even made it to regionals, sectionals, and states, even though I didn't make it past the prelims for the 800 meters though. I also had won my region championship for the 800. I ran one of my best times, which was 2:18 my sophomore year, so I got a lot of traction, especially from coaches and all. And you know, that's when just like my career like just took off for the most part. You know, my cross country season was also getting better. I was finally like, I think that year I had finally broken 20 minutes though to the prior season. So going into my track season, like I was like really like in good fitness by that point. But junior year, as you guys have known from my previous stories and everything like that about my personal life, but I was going through a lot of life changes, and things were kind of like shaky with my family. Like they already were, but it was just a lot. Also, this was the first year that my coach had left, the one that I had since freshman and sophomore year, and so I was still adjusting to that aspect. So going into senior year, I got a new coach, and to be honest, it wasn't that great of an experience. Like, I'll be honest about that, okay? Like, I've never like openly said this, but genuinely there was a lot of things that had happened, not only to me but other people of color on my team, and that were racial, and that's just the reality. It was a lot of like just racial things going on, a lot of favoritism, which is like, of course, but like that was weird in itself because my coach didn't take any input from her athletes, and so, you know, I and a few others found success that season, but it was hard for some others. But I felt as though there was some things that, you know, we were lacking in our like style of training that we had been used to before. Not to say that I wasn't open to her training, of course, but I do think that there are some aspects that I knew that I needed, especially doing more mileage, but she wouldn't allow me to do, and it would make me like just not feel confident enough during my performances. But my senior year I was able to pop out and still do good because I like pushed some boundaries, and I was like, no, like if you know you're not gonna give me the training that I know that I need, then I'm gonna, you know, take it elsewhere. So that's kind of just like how my high school experience was. It was definitely a whirlwind, but you know, like at the end of the day, like I enjoyed it. Maybe not so much my last year, because once again, the racial stuff is crazy, and the way that my coach did treat some of the people, especially of color, you know, or people that just weren't fast enough, it did kind of just like sideline. Initial exposure and, you know, that I got from coaches and all, but basically, so I started getting looked at by coaches my sophomore year. So after my whole like breakthrough with track and everything like that, I was contacted by, okay, I forgot some other ones, But one of the first ones that I did get contact from, like it was probably like early sophomore year, was like this private like Catholic school in, I don't know, Virginia or North Carolina or something like that. But my first like big girl place was UGA, and that was for a junior day camp. So basically I went to that, and that was extremely fun and everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, like the facilities and all, like it was really really nice, y'all. And so I definitely enjoyed that experience for sure. Like the facilities and everything was nice, and like, you know, but the only thing about UGA was that like there wasn't like a consistent like coach, at least for the distance side, and even performance wise it was just kind of iffy. It was like such an all by everything, and like all like the nice amenities and, you know, free stuff that athletes get, but also like there's another side to it, like if, you know, having to perform and be top tier, like it definitely sounded more like care about a performance rather than like, you know, like I don't know, like there was a lot of resources, which is good, but at the same time it just seemed like if you didn't make the mark, then, you know, how can we get better, which is good, but sometimes you need to slow down. Like, and I can see how a lot of people, you know, especially now being at a lower Division 1 school, like how, you know, you also not always prioritizing the pressure of like performances and getting the certain times and stuff. Hopefully you get the gist of what I'm saying, yada yada yada. It's by 𝓲𝓽𝓵 Southern coach, and she seemed really sweet, and I thought it was really nice that she came to my like cross country meets and all. But actually our conversation started on Instagram DMs. That's where she contacted me. So make sure that your profiles are looking good, y'all, because that can like be a disadvantage, because like also like your image of how you like portray yourself, I feel like matters. So those are like really like my main top 2 schools. I mean, like I really wasn't looking into anything less than D1, because I don't know why, but like I just guess the idea of like, oh, going to Georgia, like going to a D1 school is like the thing, you know. And so that was just a goal of mine, so I didn't really look into anything less than. In terms of contacting coaches, I really did want to make sure that I had, you know, allowed myself to get the best opportunities. So I definitely was also looking out of state. So I did look at like University of South Florida. I looked at some schools in New York, like I had a New York phase, and then I had some schools in like North Carolina, like Western Carolina University, like Western Kentucky, University of South Carolina, just like schools around the South and also the East Coast. My first school that I actually was interested in was University of Oregon, but then I realized like they are a whole nother breed, so maybe that's not also like in price range. Even if I was to walk on that team, like realistically, like it's just still so expensive. So I think ultimately at the end of the day, like I took the safest option to going to Georgia Southern. But one thing that I was upset, once again going on about like my whole senior year coach situation, was that she had told me like weeks after the fact, and I heard that allegedly she still does this, but she told me that I actually had gotten, or like a coach was interested in me from Georgia Tech, and they're part of like the ACC conference. And so that was something that I, you know, was considering, and I was like, dang, you know, like, but I had already signed to Georgia Southern, but you know, I could have went to Georgia Tech. So those are like kind of my efforts. Like I would give you guys a template that I sent to coaches, but like to be honest, like it's so generic. But I feel like if you're genuine with yourself and say where you're from, say your stats, you know, maybe put in links, and you know, just say that they have like a really great program for your major, because that's an important thing though too. Don't just go to school just because of running. And honestly, like no response is a response, and don't try to beg no school, you know. And I think that it was good that I took the time to like reach out to schools, because you never know, you truly never know. Especially like maybe with the times that I had, it put people, you know, on my radar. But if I didn't have the times that I did coming out of high school, I don't think that necessarily, like it would have to be like where I would reach out to, like, let's say if I was interested in lower division schools, I think it would be like where I would have to reach out to them, because they might think that, oh, they're interested in running at a bigger school, you know. So I just really think that it's so important to make sure you reach out to like people, because you never know. It's always good to put yourself out there because you never know what answer they could give you, or like even if you can improve your time to be on their team. So yeah. So factors that helped me decide. So honestly, I think it was honestly just the matter of, it seemed like coach really cared in a sense, especially since she showed up to my meet. You know, the offer was pretty good, to be honest. I would only have to pay like $1,000 for like that first semester of school, and you know, the area seemed okay at the time, but I think more so over, like, my major was okay. It was like generic, like public relations is what I was studying at the time. But I think that, you know, my decision was mainly solely surrounded by athletics, but I never really had fallen in love with the area. But at the same time, I think, you know, a part of me never really had a dream school, so it was just kind of like wherever takes me. But as I went through this semester, I realized that it really wasn't for me there. And I think that, you know, I do enjoy running, maybe not right now in this weather, but I think I enjoy it to an extent. But it felt like it became my whole personality, especially since there's nothing really out here besides like bars and stuff. So it felt like it was like consuming my whole personality. And I think that there's so much more to life, especially with the things that I want to do in my life, you know, other than running. But I feel like in a way I felt trapped. I felt far from home, and it was just a lot of emotions all together and some conflicting things. Once again, not with my coaches, but with other teammates, that made me feel away. And I just decided, you know, it's best to just go right back home to, you know, to the A. And so, you know, it was a very, like, you know, very hard decision in a sense, because starting over, not knowing if I would, you know, have enough money to be able to transfer, because I was like, oh, it's in the city, like, is it going to be a much more expensive school and all. But once again, going back to the idea of, you know, never really knowing until you reach out to the coach. And when I reached out, I realized, wait a second, it's much more affordable for me to go there. And so I'm glad that it ultimately ended up doing that. And it was the best decision ever, to be honest, to transfer mid-semester, because, you know, it was much more my vibe. I had a lot more things to do. And, you know, I think that also with the diversity too made me feel a lot more comfortable. And just the vibes itself was just immaculate. I loved my room that I had. Maybe not my roommate, but the room that I had. And just the experiences that I've had have just been unforgettable. And so I just, you know, love it here. And I can't wait to spend the rest of my, you know, collegiate years here. And so yeah. So I think overall my first year experience, it was definitely a lot to balance and navigate in itself. It was hard because, you know, once again, like, you know, I was 3 hours away from home and in a new area all alone. I had one friend going into college, but we were just getting to know each other at the time, so that was kind of like, you know, still like, you know. But I am grateful for that one friend, and his mom probably moved into my college dorm and everything like that. But yeah, it was just hard, you know. And I feel like, you know, already I was like living under like no direction. So like already, like, now being a young adult in a whole new town, it's like you could really do whatever. And so there's a lot of times that, like, you know, like I had up moments, but a lot of like down moments. But like overall, I think what tremendously helped me navigate my first year of freshman as a student athlete was really like putting myself out there, going to all the activities, not making my whole life revolve around running. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, there's so much more to college than just like, you know, what felt so defining, you know, being just my running career. But I think it's so important to put yourself out there, be in clubs, meet more people, you know, stay out late that one night, like go, like find a new church, and like just find your people. Like, it's so important to put yourself out there. And that definitely helped me at least tolerate all the mess that I had went through there, because there's a lot of things that was kind of just like, you know. But yeah, I think that's it. That definitely helped me. And I think even applying that same idea, but revising it in a sense, going into my second semester had definitely made the transition smoother, and me, like, you know, after reevaluating my first semester, realizing what I should do different at my new school, and that went a lot more better though too. And so just overall, like, you know, it's a lot running in college. Like, I'll be real, like, there are some days that I was just like, oh my gosh, even today, y'all, like, I won't even lie, like, I was just like so exhausted, and you would be contemplating everything. But I think that having a routine in a sense also helps, you know, and having like built-in friends is also nice. It's like, at the end of the day, like, I feel like it's so important to make sure that you are passionate about your sport, because once again, like, going on, like, you know, it can so consuming spending time out of your day, like, dedicating it to sports or whatever extracurricular activity. And so make sure that it's something, like, even if you may not see yourself doing it out of college, but something that you actually like enjoy, or find some sort of like why to help you keep on going. And don't be too caught up in the like D1, D2, D3, NAIA, because at the end of the day, if your college is getting paid, that's all that matters. That is the biggest win in life, is to leave college without any student debt, or at least like not as expensive student debt, so like the lowest amount as possible. So no shame in the game. And honestly, like, I feel like it's better going to more of like lower tier D1 and below, because I feel like for the most part they care more about you. Once again, like, it's so important to find a school like that is also giving you the energy that you want, people that actually care about you. Like, don't be so caught up in the gear, the facilities, the name of it. To the end of the day, like, you know, your well-being, your happiness, you know, matters. You want to matter on the team, especially to the coach. And I feel like that's something that if I had went to a bigger school, I would have not, you know, I would have honestly quit by now, to be honest. But I'm glad I took a chance at the unknown and took another chance at another school. And, you know, once again, like, don't be afraid to transfer if you need to, because that is an option, and they made it so much more easier. As long as you're academically doing good, then you're fine. So yes, hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Peace is already out.